Welcome to the 4th edition of SportsCentral. I'm your host, Nick Detter, here with Clark Schoon and Austin Zellers. First, we're going to break down the World Series. The Cubbies getting their first World Series in 108 years. Obviously, really big news. Also, major college basketball starting on Friday, so we're going to give you a little preseason college basketball preview. And then, because of viewer requests, we've decided to cut the 2-minute drill with Evan Byers down to a 1-minute drill with Evan Byers. So you'll get a little bit less Evan Byers of today. Okay, Clark, first we're going to start with the World Series. What were your thoughts after Game 7 last night?
I thought it was, I don't know. You see a delay in the World Series and you got to question how, does that benefit a team? Does that hurt a team? I mean, the Indians are coming back throughout the game. You see them with, we got Rajay Davis with a home run. I think if there's no delay in that game, I think the Indians win that game. I think the momentum they had, Chapman looked rocked, he did. And then after the delay, he comes back with command and what he had, three down inning or something. Mm-hmm. I just think that had a big effect on the outcome of that game.
I don't 100% disagree, because I also heard after the post game a lot of the guys Ben Zobers and some other guys were talking about how during the break a lot of the guys huddled together and kind of had some talks and kind of got refocused and connected as a team, which they said that helped. But at the same time, I just thought I thought the Cubs, I thought they were out the whole game. They started off strong, and then obviously the big home run by Davis for the Indians. But honestly, I think Cubs had momentum most of that game. I really did. I know it got tight, but I think the Cubs, they were destined to win that baseball game.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a stat that I saw today is that this is only the second time in World Series history that the total run differential for the series was 0. Like, both teams scored 27 runs throughout so even though it was one team would blow out one team and the other team would blow out the other one, except for Game 7, it still was, those two teams were very evenly matched. They both had their struggles. The Indians with their lack of bullpen depth and kind of their weird situation they had there with, I guess it's more of a lack of starting pitching depth. But then obviously the Cubs, they were throwing out Chapman. He had 4 games where he pitched more than 1 inning, which is, and he only done that 4 times in the entire regular season. So it was, I don't know, I thought it was a good conclusion to how, for two teams, they've been pretty evenly matched, and then you get a really good, regardless of the delay, it was still a fun baseball game to watch, and I think that's a great thing for the MLB. And then obviously the Cubs winning, I think, is also a good thing.
Yeah, I think any World Series that goes 7 games, Game 7 goes into extras. You can't ask for much more. That's two good teams going at it. I
was just shocked that the Cubs could come out that hot against Corey Kluber, who previously they hadn't even touched. Going into the game, I picked the Indians. I didn't think that the Cubs would be able to, face him as well. And then they come out in the first inning with a leadoff home run. Nobody would have expected that.
I think that just shows that when you're pitching on short rest, that's not something that you're used to. You pitch all year, you get your 4 or 5 days or whatever. Yeah, 3 days, is that about what he had? That's just not a lot of time.
It shows good adjustments by the Cubs. They see him the first time, they come back, and
the same thing happened with Lester and Chapman. They were both coming back on shorter rest than they're used to most of the time, and neither one of them pitched their best games so far. I think that's why you had such a high-scoring game, too.
That's true.
I think most of the pitchers, both teams had lacked pitching depth in either their starting or their bullpen, and that really showed up by Game 7.
I agree. I thought it was pretty evident in Chapman last night.
He
was throwing. He was still throwing upper 90s, but he wasn't touching his.
He wasn't quite.
No, he wasn't hitting his spots.
He wasn't getting.
That one, the Rajay Davis home run. That just wasn't. Obviously, I don't think he put that ball where he wanted to put it.
He was going to a lot of his off-speed pitches too.
And the thing about Chapman is what he's missing. He's missing up. He's missing those pitches you can take out of the yard.
Well, and then Lester had that wild pitch that led to 2 runs. He had a couple times where his breaking ball was
off Ross's face.
Yeah, and then Ross comes back and hits a home run. Yeah,
he made up for it.
Yeah, the oldest person to hit a home run in Game 7 of the World Series. But I think great year of baseball.
Overall,
obviously the Royals were a little bit disappointing, but it's pretty. You don't get to see the Cubs win a World Series.
It was a fun year for baseball.
It was a great way for the MLB season to end this year. I think it shows a lot headed forward with the young talent and a lot of teams. I think we'll have a good couple of years coming up in the MLB.
So now going from the end of the season to the beginning of the season, what are your guys' thoughts? Is college basketball, really opens up on Friday. You got some big games. KU Indiana is obviously probably the biggest of the games on Friday, but it's just college basketball's back.
Detter, first of all, KU Indiana plays next Friday.
Next Friday.
But it's all good. It's all good. But still the same spirit. College basketball's getting started, and obviously it's a great season. My personal favorite sport to watch. I think it brings out a lot of sports fans from everywhere. And honestly, this year in college basketball, we got we got a great lineup. We got a lot of young talent, a lot of returning talent for some teams, and I think it's going to be pretty crazy. I mean, it's going to be a good season. Obviously, everyone likes to look at the bracketology by Joe. I mean, who knows what that means? Let's be honest. I mean, he makes it every week. He updates it throughout the season. Doesn't mean anything. Who knows? But it's kind of fun to look at, fun to mess with. So, I mean, his 1 seeds preseason tournament. He's got Villanova, Kansas, Kentucky, and Duke. It's pretty hard to argue with. Obviously, last year, 4 powerhouse teams, 4 obviously powerhouse basketball programs, you could say. I mean, if you want to call Villanova a powerhouse, not really. But, I mean, in the last couple of years, they've been solid. I like them a lot. I mean, I don't know. I think this tournament's going to be really good.
You got an early season Final Four prediction?
I mean, I'm telling you right now, my boys, the Hawks, I like them a lot. I think their backcourt is debatably the strongest backcourt in college basketball with Devontae and Frank returning. Also, you throw in Josh Jackson in the mix, very young, talented freshman. I think he's really going to propel this season, especially as the season goes on. I think he's only going to get better. Obviously, Duke, highly rated coming into the year. Coach K could be his last year. I think those guys are going to play really hard for him. The only thing that scares me with Duke is their couple injuries early in the season. Obviously, yeah, the ACL tear earlier in the year, and then recently Jason Tatum, he has a foot injury, so he's kind of being questioned too. So we'll see how that works out for Duke. Obviously, they're still going to be good, but we'll see what happens because coming into the year, they were pretty heavy favorites to win the national title. So now those might have fallen off a little bit.
I think they got a good balance between that young talent and then some of the returning guys like Grayson Allen. And I don't know, I think they'll be pretty strong this year.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think Duke, Kentucky, KU, and Villanova are kind of a notch above everyone else right now. I just feel like a combination of, like, with obviously KU, Duke, and Kentucky, most of the top 10 recruits in the country went to one of those 3 schools, and then you have returning champions Villanova, who's bringing back most of the talent.
They bring back 3 of their 5 starters.
Which, I mean, off of a national championship team, that's quite a bit of the returning. So
I
mean, some people are talking about Oregon and stuff, but I just think it's those 4, and then there's a little bit of a step down, and we'll see what happens throughout the season. There's always teams that do better or worse than you expect, but I think you're really looking at those 4 teams this season to be the main contenders.
I agree with those 4, but I know you just brought up Oregon, and honestly, I like Oregon a lot. I think Dylan Brooks is going to be really good. He's obviously a Wooden Award candidate. He's a preseason top 5 Wooden Award. I just really think he's going to be good. I don't know. And honestly, the Pac-12, I mean, not a great conference, but I mean, they'll get games against Arizona, USC, UCLA. I mean, they'll get some decent games, which I think is going to turn them around later in the season. So, and I mean, that's honestly a lot of teams. Even like a team like Kansas in the tournament, you run into those USCs, those Arizona, the UCLAs. Like you run into those teams, and when you see them, I mean, you have to be prepared. Because if you're not, obviously, as we see every single year, the top teams fall off to those 8 seeds, the 10 seeds. Those seeds that you wouldn't really think.
No, I think that's the thing. Is those are decent teams. It's just in their conference. I mean, you see each other so much that you really start to lose each other. I mean, once you see a team more, I mean, normally the better team wins the more time you meet up because you can't surprise them as much. But when you see a team that you haven't seen all year, I mean, they can throw some things at you that can kind of surprise you. So that's what makes the tournament so great. That's why the upsets happen. Is because the first time anything can happen in one game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for another great year of college basketball. Just quick, Big 12. I mean, the Big 12 is real weak, so I don't see a reason why Kansas won't get another Big 12 championship.
It tie it, wouldn't it, with UCLA for the most
it would.
Of all time? So that's another big milestone. One more comment on college basketball before we move to the 1-minute drill with Evan Byers. What are your guys' thoughts on the Shocks this year?
The Shockers. The Wichita State Shockers coming around town. You know my opinions on the Shockers. So
big transition. Losing all those seniors from
honestly, the one thing I will say is, I mean, everyone talks about how Greg Marshall he's a good recruiter, which I mean, he recruits talent, or he recruits kids that have potential, and he turns them out, which I can't disagree. And I really think that this year, next year, the year after is really going to show him as a coach. Because obviously you developed Ron Baker and Fred, but now he's got a whole other crew to work with. And I really think he can prove himself. And honestly, he'll earn a lot of my respect if he could do it again. I mean, not that he doesn't have it already, but I really think if he does it again, he's a top tier coach.
And it doesn't look like there's going to be anyone in the Valley challenge.
No.
So they should be just fine getting back to the tournament. The question will be, will they be able to succeed there like they have in the past? Okay, Byers, it's your turn.
Hi, I'm Evan Byers, host of the now 1-minute drill, and today I'm going to be talking about AC soccer. My 1 minute starts now. So, AC soccer, a decent year, lots of games in double overtime and overtime. The record kind of lies. I think we're better than we were. So that brings us to the first game in the regional, which was against Rose Hill. Andover Central went to double OT in this game and ended up winning 1-0 with a big shot by Keaton McLean that bounced off the pipe, and Jaden Voss put it in. So that's a great win, which then sent us to McPherson, the regional championship. Now, McPherson is widely regarded as a soccer powerhouse in years past, and they're a great team. So obviously we were a little worried to play them. AC wins 2-1 in triple overtime. It was tied 1-1, and obviously triple overtime, it's a crazy amount of game time. The goals were scored by Jacob Cromley and Jackson Llewellyn. So Sub-State, Winfield. We win 2-0 with both goals by Jackson Llewellyn. This is one of our first games that we win in regular time. And now we will be...
Welcome back. We're going to do a quick breakdown of the now 1 minute drill with Evan Byers. What do you guys think?
I liked how he kept his opinions out of it.
He kept it to the facts, exactly.
It really,
that was a better way to go about it.
It's not much to roast him about. I mean, obviously our school is doing great in soccer this year, and he displayed that well. I guess you say he couldn't quite spit it all out, but 60 seconds.
1 minute is just not.
But it was good. He never babbled at all. Like with 2 minutes, we had some time.
We had some time. It's a few times.
Yeah. So, but honestly, I think you might have earned your first A. We'll give you an A- for that one, even though you didn't get all your. He's still disappointed.
It's getting better. It's
getting better. B plus, A-. Well, thank you for watching the 4th edition of Sports Central. We'll see you later.